I had the pen in my basket 3 times this week, and I honestly didn't feel like I had the choice but to reorder. So the official line is that it takes 30 days for this medicine to be completely out of your system. However, there's no guidelines around how to get to this point, and no one prepares you for how hard it is. And in all honesty, I've come to believe that every part of the diet industry is reliant upon it being hard. And this week, I had a realization about the food noise and my emotions when I was on Mounjaro that's led me to a point of questioning whether I am actually able to continue maintenance without it. So let's talk about what's been happening in week 9 now that the Mounjaro is completely out of my system, and how I've come so close to reordering and what I'm doing to prevent this turning into a whole massive relapse. So last week, one of my subscribers, Paul, shared something with me that really resonated, and he talked about how his experience of Mounjaro was that it numbed his emotions. And I'll be honest, I thought I was completely different, because my experience was that after I'd used the jab of Mounjaro, initially I had really elevated anxiety levels. And as I've documented, since ending the Mounjaro, I found that I've had increased anxiety and low mood. But this week, the triggers have been coming thick and fast. There's been loads of obstacles thrown my way. It wasn't the hunger that was really bothering me. It was the emotions and the emotional propensity to want to eat. And I had this sudden wave of panic that I just don't think I can do this without Mounjaro. And looking back at my emotional eating on Mounjaro, it wasn't more manageable, it was sedated. And so several times this week, I just got to the point where I just was like, you just can't do this without Mounjaro. You need something to nullify those emotions that you feel. And I started bargaining with myself, just, do 1 more month without Mounjaro and see where you are. At least get to the end of February without Mounjaro and see where you are. It was like, you don't need, this isn't about losing weight. This is just about a maintenance. And then what magnified that was that it was like, hold on a minute, this isn't going away. These thoughts aren't going away. This isn't just a wobble. This is my thinking reverting back to where it was. What am I going to do? And that's when that realization about what Paul said resonated, because I spent a lot of time thinking about why I was struggling so much. What was the difference between when I was on Mounjaro? Why were things more manageable? Why are they not so manageable now? I thought back to times when I'd had triggers on Mounjaro. Why was I so able to manage those? What was the difference? Why can't I manage these triggers now? And I realized that on Mounjaro, everything just had less of an edge. The cravings, the arguments in my head, even the bad days, it all just felt more dull. And that got really intense. And I think to pacify those feelings, it was a case of just order the Mounjaro. And that's when the bargaining sort of magnified. And so during those many times when I was struggling and I went to the fridge or to the cupboard to get something to eat, and I was like, no, you're going to log this, you're going to go and spend 20 minutes. I sort of really tried to dissect what was happening, why I felt I didn't have a choice. And of course, I could reorder the pen, and in all honesty, I absolutely still might. And I guess that's because it's accepting that this just isn't just a food problem. This is a psychological issue. If I go straight back on Mounjaro now, all I am doing is suppressing that issue. And I'm also sort of throwing away 9 weeks of hard work of trying to manage this issue long term. And of course, it would also have a financial repercussion, wouldn't it? Because I would have to eventually get back up to probably 7.5. How long would that last? I'll be spending £300 a month, if not more, probably for the rest of my life. Because if I don't deal with this now, when do I deal with it? I haven't reordered, and I've just decided that I'm just going to stick at it. I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. So the 3 things at my disposal that are working for me. I'm logging it. I'm taking 20 minutes. I've took a lot of 20 minutes this week. I've probably spent half the week in isolation. And I'm doing my non-negotiables, hydrating, moving, and eating balanced meals. It's just that this is just not easy. I could have really, really, really easily reordered that pen, but I may not have got accepted for it. My BMI is like 20 something now, so I may not have got accepted for it, in which case I've got 2 alternatives: gain all the weight back or pull up my big girl pants and crack on with it. At the minute, I'm just trying to crack on with it. The tools are working. It's just been really hard this week, taking a lot of challenging myself to get here. But it's important to share it, because whether you're struggling, you've got the pen in your basket, or you've reordered it, there is no right or wrong way. It is absolutely what you need to do for your health and your well-being and your psychology. So the scale this week reflected probably my struggle. It was up, down, up, down, up, down all week. I don't even think there was 2 days in a row where it was the same. Ultimately, I think I'm 142 pounds pounds still, so I'm still the 2 pounds up that I was last week, well within my maintenance. And the scales have been the least of my worries for a while now. It's more dealing with this psychology. If I'm going to maintain this without Mounjaro, or even with Mounjaro, because I super responded to it, but at some point 7.5 mil wouldn't have worked, and I'd eventually have got up to 15 milligrams. And what then happens when 15 milligrams stop working? Do I go to Wegovy and I do all the rounds of Wegovy, and then do I do Retatrutide? At some point, I feel like I have to deal with the issue. February is always a bit of a dip, I think, for people that are on any sort of lifestyle or weight loss journey. This is hard work. If it wasn't, we all wouldn't be so far into this, and many of us wouldn't be on GLP-1 medication. So let me know in the comments how you've been getting on, good, bad, or ugly. If you're interested in watching somebody that's just going to give you the raw details of what is happening post Mounjaro, do subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.